Welcome to Show and Share. We're talking with Rich Keegan today about his product Ubuntu. And yep, that's him in the top left corner. Trainers Warehouse has been working with Rich's company, High Five, for probably, we figure, over a dozen years, maybe even more. Rich has been there for about five and was formerly a phys ed teacher and has had tons of experience working with both students and adults and creating interactive fun experiences. So, Rich, thanks for being here today and kind of sharing your experiences and your suggestions on using Ubuntu. We would love for this to kind of be a conversation among everyone. So once we have that intro, hopefully we can have a lot of kind of back and forth and talking about applications, how we use it, asking questions and so forth. So with that, take it away, Rich.
Yeah, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. And regardless of where you are, well, it wouldn't be, I don't think anybody's from Europe, so, but at least good morning or good afternoon. I'm located in beautiful Simsbury, Connecticut, which is right on the Connecticut-Massachusetts border. And it is a beautiful day here. And it's a lot cooler than where Renee is and some of the other places we're hearing about. So, yeah, but I really always love talking about Ubuntu and the cards and all the different activities. And as Sue mentioned, I'm fortunate to have worked with kindergartners through you all and adults. And these cards, I think, are my number one favorite prop because they can be used at all sorts of different levels and all sorts of different ways, which is really nice. And it's a very small prop, so I can just walk around with maybe one box or multiple boxes, depending on the size of the group. And I'm really all ready to go with many different activities. So let me tell you a little bit about High Five and who we are, and that will explain more about our progression with the cards and how we came up with those. And then we'll do two or three activities and then hopefully open up some questions that you still may have or suggestions that you may have as well. So High Five, we're a small nonprofit uh, educational group that supports education and I can't even talk this morning, experiential education, which is also learned by doing. But our mission is to work with schools, camps, and organizations. We also build challenge courses, climbing towers, and do a lot of training with that. But those are all goals of supporting learning and education. And I think that's where the Ubuntu cards really are, I think, pretty special. And all the proceeds from the Ubuntu cards are go to our program called Edge of Leadership, which supports leadership training for children and teenagers, basically in the Northeast region of the United States. So that's where most, if not all of that money comes from. A little bit about a history of Ubuntu cards. You'll see these in a couple of minutes if you don't have them already. I want to show them you once or more than once, but we have this card and the box right there. And on one side of the card are 8 multiple images, and on the other side of the card is a single image. And these things came from people one person that still works at High Five, and then Chris Ortiz, who was with High Five for many years, and Ryan McCormick is still there. But these are all items from their junk drawer. So it's kind of how they came up with that. It's like, hey, we got a bunch of stuff in our drawer, and we'll do a closing activity called junk drawer as well. But there are multiple image sides. There's 52 cards in the deck. And at High Five, we really believe in making connections first, as you all know, connections before content. So that's why we really love the cards. And then the next thing we like to think about is how can we empower our students, our people we work with to make the proper choices that they need to make, and also to support leadership. So that's kind of the goal of the cards. Anybody have any questions yet so far about the cards here? So we'll keep moving things along and try and make the pace somewhat quick. So we'll have a video for you in a couple of minutes, but we also want to introduce a couple of activities to you where regardless of whether you have the cards with you or you get a video, there's a lot of different ways to use these cards. And we certainly use them a lot, especially virtually during COVID. So we're going to have a quick activity we're going to do that is called Common Bond. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these two cards. And I'll hold them up next to the camera. And some people like to pin me for it. But if you can see, there's all these different items. Now, what we're going to ask for is to see if you can find, and I'll pay it off a little bit, there's always one image matching each card. So sometimes the challenge will be not to tell your groups and have them to figure that out. But if you can find the image that is on both cards, anybody had any luck with that? And you can just unmute yourself, and Sue's got it. Brandon, what's the image that you notice?
Oh, anybody else before I speak? Because everybody else is muted. Feel free to
Right.
unmute yourselves, guys.
So
I can't.
I'm a person with low vision, and I think I even see the two that image.
Anybody care to
Go
share
ahead,
what they
Wendy.
are?
What do you see?
Is it a mouse or it looks like something with some ears? Is it a monkey or?
Yeah, it's a monkey.
Okay.
Exactly. So in the activity Common Bond to create connections, now we would invite people to share something. It could be about how they feel about monkeys. It could be how they feel about zoos. You can take that in any direction, and to see if we have common bonds between each other, possibly doing about having to do with monkeys, or we can completely go off script with that, and it can be anything that you feel comfortable sharing with the group. And we're virtually, but anybody care to share anything they can find in common? And sometimes that takes a little bit of work and a little bit of pause.
Tim,
and
you
thinking.
unmuted.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I collected stuffed monkeys. I don't know if anybody else had a stuffed monkey when they were a kid.
Awesome.
You still have any?
I have two that I've handed down to my kids.
That's awesome. Holy cow.
Was that the sock monkey? We used to all have sock monkeys.
It was a couple that are kind of like that. They're probably like an off-brand sock.
Mine were homemade sock monkeys.
Oh,
I don't know
Did
why.
you have the drum playing monkey or the cymbal playing monkey, Tim?
I never had that one. No. Did you have one that one?
No,
Brad?
no.
Okay.
And then there's the launch monkey, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, Tim, I remember my brother and I hitting each other with those sock monkeys. Gives you a little idea of where I am with monkeys.
Yeah.
So usually in a non-virtual setting, each of you will have a card. And then we would ask you to, after sharing one, we would exchange cards and then take another card and mingle with someone else. So are you ready for our next kind of group mingle? Continue with Common Bond. Anybody notice the common image here?
I miss the monkey.
Monkey's still on one card.
Is it the magnifying glass?
Yeah, the magnifying glass, exactly. And one of the keys for these, and it's hard depending on how young children use to notice the difference in size. So when kids get stuck, I'll say, hey, just remember, it may be there, but it may be really tiny this time, or it may be much larger. Thoughts with a magnifying glass? Anybody share anything they've done with magnifying glass or anything somewhat similar to that?
It reminds me that I need I need to get my eyes checked again. I'm of that age.
Yeah, so am I. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
When
I
I was
use
a
a
kid, my dad
magnifying.
worked. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Wendy.
When I was a kid, my dad worked in the railroad, and he was able to take some of those lenses or that are on stoplights that would be like the flashing lights at intersections. And so he'd bring some of those home, and they're like huge magnifying glasses. So I'd burn leaves and sticks and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Wendy.
I think I told you I am a person of low vision, so I use a magnifying glass every day. And I use that because I've become very passionate about having assistive technology available to people. And a lot of times people think of iPads or something high tech. And so I tell them, here is a no tech assistive technology device. And I, use my magnifying glass. People have started giving me little gifts of magnifying glasses. I have two necklaces and
Nice.
Awesome.
Do you ever try to tie it into what someone would want to get out of a workshop or kind of tie it into the
Absolutely.
content.
Yeah, front loading that with usually more times with a single image side. So we would put those up in the beginning of a program, depending on the age of the group, because we use these for metaphors. And yeah, what are your expectations for the day, for the program, and be able to have people share that way as well. So yes, you're well ahead of the game. So there's many different ways you could use that. Can we go one more round? Because that's traditionally what would happen. So are you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. See if you can find the match. Anybody notice? Yep, the fire extinguisher. I know some branding came up with that.
Yeah.
So what fires have you put out recently? Could be one of them. It could be anything from a real fire to burning something on your stove to things you've had to problem solve that seem like you were putting out fires.
Do you typically, when you're facilitating, like pick cards on purpose, or do you just leave it all to chance?
Well, we leave it all to chance, depending on how we're using them. Again, if we're using the single image sides, again, we've been using those sort of metaphors. But I love what McCormick, who developed this. I love his thought is about, did you choose the card or did the card choose you? So that's an interesting take on that. Anybody care to share anything about fire extinguishers or anything that we may have in common that reminds you of a fire extinguisher? You can completely go off the topic.
So I like how you made the connection of putting out fires because I am in the K-12 space. And
Yep.
When we hit like towards this time of year, well, schools have recently ended and some are starting back up fairly soon, but that's a
Yep.
great time of putting out a lot of fires because it's like, hey, this is happening and we got to get report cards out or that kind of thing. So
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Any other metaphoric fires?
Even if you're not showing your face, you can still unmute and feel free to share.
I'll share again.
Sure.
Wendy, go for it.
Please. Go ahead, Tim.
Wendy, were you going to share? Okay, I'll share again. 2 years ago, my daughter started the house fire. She was curious about matches and lit one, dropped it on the carpet, and and she was mindful enough to know that, oh, I should probably put this out. And she ran downstairs, got a paper towel, wetted it, and then ran back up the stairs to try to put it out. But it was already like consuming the room, so she ran and got us and got everybody out of the house.
Oh my,
Holy smokes.
glad everybody's
Literally.
okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
everybody's good.
Well, that could lead into a whole conversation about getting help,
Yep, asking for
leaving,
help. Yeah.
trying to do things on your own. That gets to pretty rich content right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's if we can change gears for just a minute, and then we'll play a game we often do. It's called Find and Flee. So you can use these games and create a lot of movement as well. So that we can play tag games with the cards, but one of our favorites is Find and Flee. And obviously, you're not going to flee here. Well, you certainly could, depending on how things are going, how we're doing. But what I'm going to do is kind of rapid fire, put up one card, and then put up the other card. And the goal is for you to be the first one to find the match, call out the match. And for us, if we were outdoors or inside somewhere, you would then run and find another person to play the game. Here, just keep track of the total number of matches that you think you get first. For those of you who would like to play.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Are we typing them in or are people yelling?
You can type them, you can call them out, whatever.
So folks, if you want to play, just unmute yourself so we can just like respond really quickly.
And then I've had groups sometimes, especially with kids, they get so excited they yell out anything, which has nothing to do with the images. It's like, that's a very creative idea. we're
think
kind of
they'll be
with,
right.
out of the bonds of what we're doing. You're like, fire engine. And it's like, there's no fire engine there. You're like, oh, sorry, I just thought of that. But are you ready?
Okay.
All right, kids. Here we go and go.
Fish.
Good one.
Yep, got it right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. You should go 1, 2, 3, show.
Fire extinguisher.
Boom. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and show. I'll cover it. I'm sorry. I'm doing
Chicken. Rubber
it.
chicken.
Chicken. Easy peasy. All right, we just lost one. Last one. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, show. Should have rehearsed this more before I did this.
Magnifying glass.
Yep, magnifying glass.
Ah, congratulations. So if you can imagine figuring that out, switching cards and running to another group, the kids seem to find that pretty enjoyable. And again, regardless of your age, that seems to have been
So that would be
universal
more like
activity as
an
well.
that would be more like an energizer, just to kind of get the blood flowing
Exactly.
and, maybe after
Exactly.
lunch or whatever.
So I think, you know what I didn't mention before we get to the video is, does anybody know what the word Ubuntu means? Take a guess. Kids will call, oh yeah, it's an operating system for a computer. Like, that is true.
And that's what happened when I looked it up, because I was
connected.
curious myself. I didn't know if it was an acronym for something or if it meant something. And when I looked it up, the only thing that was coming up was the operating system. So I was
Really?
like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, I had to put in, I think, cards for the actual card, because all the searches with just Ubuntu was coming up with the operating system.
It's an African theory or something, right?
Yep, it's from the
Oh.
South African Bantu language, and it roughly means I am because we are, or a person is a person through others. And I think that's really a good example of what we try and do at High Five, and as well as in any experiential education or teamwork. It has to do with about how you interact with others. And if I remember correctly, the Boston Celtics in 2010, when they won the championship, that was a refocusing word for them in their philosophy. So sometimes a timeout would be having nothing new with the X's and O's. It would be about Ubuntu. How can you support each other as a rallying point to refocus their attention?
I like that.
Yeah, it seems to work out. I think it's another great metaphor. All right, so you ready?
Yep. Am I sharing?
Yep, we're going to have you try and screen share this next activity. And it's called Secret Card. So if you can click on how to play. So thank you for that. We'll read the instructions. And this is really a communication activity. So we showed you some simple activities, but this one has to do with really more about how we communicate. So we'll have a full screen and the player will choose an object secretly and not tell any of the rest of us. The others of us are going to try and guess what that object is by asking yes or no questions. Like you're seeing a squirrel in the lower right-hand corner. We wouldn't go, is it a squirrel? And so we want to go a little bit more in depth with that. It could be about the color, about nature. And we as a group are going to kind of try and narrow down those questions. And that's basically the end of it. And I'll be able to ask periodically on each round when a person chooses to ask a question to see if your card is still there.
So should we pick someone before we start to
That's exactly right. If we can volunteer someone to be willing to answer the yes and no questions, and we'll probably play for about a minute and go a couple of rounds so you can get more of a feel for what it would be like. But if we can have somebody that would volunteer.
Sure, let's have the blind girl do it. Okay.
Okay.
Wendy, it's all yours.
Do you feel comfortable doing it, or are we putting you in an uncomfortable situation? Don't want to
No,
do
I'm really interested to see how it works. And I love the philosophy of just even the name of the game and everything. So cool.
Okay. Shall we hit play?
Yep. You're going to hit play new game.
Oh, drama.
All right. So here you go, Wendy. Right? It's Wendy.
Yes.
So if you can pick an object that is your secret object,
Okay.
and when you've picked that, let us know.
I have.
All right. So now what we're going to do it one at a time for those people who would like to play, we're going to try and guess what that object is. But since we're all in the adults, or some of us are like to play a little bit more than others, but if you've picked an item, and then we're going to ask questions about what that item is, but not specifically about exactly what that is. It could do with color, nature, whatever category that would be in. And then what'll happen, Sue, you'll move the cursor over and click on that item
Okay.
to remove the different items that we say.
Okay.
So can we have someone go first to ask a question about a particular item?
So, Wendy, does your object have legs?
No.
Okay.
No. So now that what we would do is the rest of the group is have a short discussion about which item of these does not have legs.
Okay, so Brandon, which should we eliminate? Because you asked the question, like this guy. The
Oh, yes, yes. So let's
critter.
get rid of the
That's a clicker
critter,
locus.
a locus.
Anybody else? And then let's see, the rubber chicken, that has legs,
Yeah.
right?
The
But here would
monkey,
be some open discussion if we have difference of opinion to share specifically.
bunny rabbit,
Yeah.
the squirrel,
Girl,
The
Yeah.
frog.
the frog.
the frog. Hold on, is that behind my? Yeah, that was behind
Down
my.
the lower right.
Okay.
Yes. So the
How about the
discussion would be
critter
that.
at the bottom, the
That's what I
crustacean,
was gonna say. So would the scorpion be one where we would remove?
and the
The
time
big
clock
one.
that has arms but not legs. Ha ha ha.
Hmm.
And is that a penguin in a chair, or what is that?
I can give it away, or what's your guess?
It looks like it. Oh, I don't.
Penguin in an
Puffin
ice
or
bin.
something.
You've got it right. It's definitely a penguin in a chair. And we had it out last week in the office. It makes an incredibly annoying sound.
Awesome.
Okay, so penguins have feet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
How
I
about
believe
that
they have
butterfly?
What? Hold on, what?
How about
Whoa.
that butterfly? Is that a butterfly? Do they
Yep.
have legs?
Oh, wait, what did Wendy say? Who said I believe they have something when we did the,
No. Go ahead.
we're okay?
I don't know. Would you consider butterflies having legs?
I think they do.
Okay.
All right. So we'll pause here and we'll ask the question, Wendy, do you still have that item?
Yes.
All right. Someone else like a different person ask a question?
I want to ask, is your item round?
I don't know if I can answer that yes or no.
Ooh, this is rare. We're in rarefied territory here, folks. I don't think I've ever had that answer.
Well, so like I was thinking about that. So the tip of a rocket is round, or the circle
Yeah.
has a star in it, or this thing has, there are certain things that have round-ish qualities.
Mhm.
So maybe we can get rid of the things that are unambiguously not round.
Not round, yes.
Yeah.
So like the phone or the plane. Should we click those?
Mhm.
Sure.
Okay. What else?
The bill.
Okay.
The key.
Okay. Sponge.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
clock.
The clock.
Yeah, the clock.
The
The
battery.
pine.
Battery's round.
battery-
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it is.
That's what I was thinking, like,
Yeah.
because it's
Same
because
with,
it's a
I was
cylinder type of
thinking
deal.
the same with the beads too. How about the hammer or the paintbrush?
I would get rid
Yeah.
of those.
Which one?
The hammer and the paintbrush.
Okay.
What about the pine cone?
I'm hearing, yeah, I'm seeing yes. Okay. Nail, the nail on the glove.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cylinder clip.
Oh no, that has round too. Okay. Oh, scissors. Scissors?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, it
That,
and
that was
How about the
productive.
fish?
yeah, the fish and the shark.
The fish and the shark. Okay.
And probably the Sharpie, right?
I don't know, that's kind of, has a round barrel on the end.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, the train. How about the train on the tracks?
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing in the lower right corner above the word reset is a blood pressure cuff. People oftentimes, kids will go, "What the heck is that?" Well, they play blood pressure.
Oh, I just got, okay.
That's okay.
Could we
And-
take it as her answer was it's not specifically round? So could we eliminate like the marble?
Oh, right, because if it were round, that would be unambiguous also, right?
I propose
I
we
would
ask
probably,
her.
yeah, I probably would have kept the marble until another question to be certain.
Oh, so I could hit reset, but all right, should we ask
Okay,
if it's still
Lord.
there?
Yeah,
Let's
I
do
think
that.
it's time. Wendy, is your item still there?
Yes.
Yay!
Okay.
All right, we got to finish this out, right? If everybody's okay with it. I know it's almost 12:30. I don't want to take too much of people's time, but we want to keep going.
Is your
Okay.
object red?
Ooh.
No.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that'll
Okay,
get
can
rid
I
of
just go
quite a
ahead
few
and click
things.
away?
Uh-huh.
Click, star,
Uh-huh.
tomato,
Yep,
Uh-huh.
fire extinguisher.
yep.
Uh-huh.
How about the record?
The record. Uh-huh.
Yep.
And that question mark could have gotten taken out from the circle answer. So, oh,
True. Okay.
nice.
All right.
Wendy, is your item still there?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, given the round, should we get rid of the globe?
I think we should ask another question.
Okay, go ahead. Who said that?
Hmm.
Tim said that. I don't necessarily have another question at the
Oh,
moment.
does your object have a long handle or stem? Like, is it sort of long and skinny versus short and stout?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Probably long and skinny.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you could get rid of the shell and the
Yeah.
globe.
And probably the battery too, and the bulb.
Yeah.
Because that can be extended. These are all of the long and skinnies now.
All right, Wendy, is your item still there?
Yes.
All right, good job, everybody.
Is it-
Oh, go ahead.
You go, Brandon.
No, I was trying to think of one. So if you have one, go
Oh,
for
I
it.
was gonna say, is it a tool?
No.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so I would get rid of these three, like things that you do something with. I would get rid of those three.
Is your item an inanimate? Well, first, I guess, is your item still there?
Yes,
Is your item an inanimate object?
yes,
Get rid of the
So,
flower?
no. So it's an inanimate object. So we would get rid of the necklace, right?
No, that's a necklace is inanimate. It's
Oh,
not living.
okay.
I know,
Ask.
Are you thinking
Rue,
dimensions, Brandon?
I'm sorry, say that again, Tim.
Are you thinking about dimensions?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I asked the question wrong. So, but let's go with it. Susan, take away what you were going to take away, and let's see if that's it.
Survey says, Wendy, is
yep,
that
that's
your
my,
item?
yes, it is.
All right. Good job, everybody. Nice round of applause. Holy smokes.
how did we do, Rich? What did we
Right.
learn from it?
Right. Well, I'm going to throw that back on you. What did you learn about communication through that particular activity? You could also spin this one leadership. We've done it with middle schoolers and even adults. It really had to do with how do you come to a consensus
Mhm.
on how you pick that particular item? But what did you notice about the communication there specifically?
I loved how people worked as a team, and I think it's a wonderful communication builder. I can totally see using this, and the name, a person is a person because of others. I work in the government, and we are desperately trying to become person-centered, and so doesn't
Right.
that just fit right in?
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Oh, great.
I
Thank you.
felt some tension between like wanting to bring other people in, and maybe that's how I am as a leader also, is I'm
Yeah.
too quick to jump in. And
Yeah.
also because I was doing the screen share, but I felt like I wanted to get other perspectives and bring conversation, and maybe also being short on time or cognizant
Right.
of time. I think I default to having a perception that I need to do that when I shouldn't, and I should step back and let
Mhm.
others
Yeah.
participate. So, note to self.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that. So if we can do one last activity
Is
and
everybody okay on time? I guess if you
Mhm.
can't, then you'll depart, but
we're
hopefully
just
we're
going to do a
okay.
closing activity called junk drawer.
Can I
And
ask
then
a quick question about this activity real quick, Rich?
Sure.
What do you find is a like where does this become too big of a group to do? Like, because
Oh,
I'm
great question. We'd like to traditionally keep it to groups of 8,
okay.
somewhere in that number. I mean, it could be as small as 3, but 8 seems to be the number that works pretty well.
Okay.
So and we have a Edge of Leadership group, we work with 5th graders in the public school system in Keene, New Hampshire. So, and that number works, I think, well with anybody 5th grade and up. But 8 seems to be the number because there's enough conversation. If some kids want to check out, so we'll come up with an order of, okay, everybody's seated in a circle on the floor looking at the cards. So we go around a circle so everybody gets a chance to ask a question, things like that. So if I have large groups of, we do this at large conferences with 100 people, we have multiple decks, but still break them down into those small groups. Thank
Got
you
it.
for that
Thank you.
question.
I kind of like the idea of having, going in sequence to have different people
Right.
answer questions or to lead it, which is, harder to do on a Zoom, and I guess my not wanting to call people out if they're reluctant to share a talk.
Right.
Also. So,
And
yeah.
we usually front load that for regardless of any group. It's okay to say pass, give them an opportunity. But if they don't feel comfortable asking a question, so you can just pass and then move to the next person in the
Great
circle.
tip. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to talk about really quickly is for a lot of these games can be energizers, but this one is an example where it's not. But what I really like with these cards is for people who are introverts to have, they can have conversations, but they're not looking at you. They're kind of looking at the card as they go. And I've had some nice compliments about that as well. Even with kindergartners, just walking around, you hold out your card and they walk around, and they point to that thing they noticed and move on. It's a really simple way to begin to get them to interact with each other, which I really liked. Last but not least, Sue, if you can go back to the beginning of the game where we had all those cards on the screen.
Okay.
And what will happen is when we see all the cards, we as in a group, talking about drunk drawer, are going to pick one item that they feel comfortable sharing to the group about their experience in our last 30 minutes before we close out. So what would that item represent in your experience in our time together in this virtual workshop?
A light bulb.
Light bulb.
Who said light bulb?
Was that Bob?
Yes.
So Bob, can you tell us a little bit more about why you picked the light bulb? And we're going to go with the one full breath challenge because we're running out of time here. You're only allowed one full breath to give your answer out.
I got a lot of ideas out of this session.
Boom. Thank you for sharing, Bob. Usually I ask for three, one more, one or two more.
I'll say the key
Got one full breath, Brandon.
because it unlocks people's shyness and unwillingness to participate.
Thank you. One more, maybe?
I was going to say the magnifying glass because it kind of helped me hone in on some of the different uses of this.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. So the one little other known fact before we leave is on the cards, on the multi-image side, there are 10 words that are embedded in that particular item that have to do with making connections or the thought about Ubuntu. And there are things like listening, cooperation, but they're all embedded in the
one
card.
of those cards.
Ooh, this is going to be see if I can find one. Sworn to secrecy not to give it away. I don't know if we're gonna be able to transfer this on the. I'm looking.
Oh, if it's too
Oh, I
hard.
got one. I don't know if
Okay.
you're gonna be able to see it. Maybe tough to see.
So it's on the record. There's a word.
Oh, very good. And
Can't see what it is, but
the word, I know the word, it's inspire.
got it.
So that's another example. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time and coming. There is an activity guide with this as well that has 32 different activities in it. If you were to choose just to get the box by itself with the cards, there is a pamphlet in there folded out with, I think, has 10 different activities from, building connections to games that have a little bit more energy, and then finally all the different ways you can debrief them. So I really thank everybody for your time. Sue, thank you for giving High Five again an opportunity to talk about our favorite prop, Ubuntu cards.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I just saw a quick question from Wendy
Yep.
about whether the cards come in any other sizes or kind of flip chart size. I think the answer to that is no, but if you have, do you have any other online tools like what you just shared with us during this Zoom? So that,
Well-
that kind of blows, opens up some other
Well,
options.
Wendy, I really appreciate doing that because other cards that you have the large playing cards. I don't know if you've seen them that are much larger. That's a good suggestion about can we produce those with much larger cards because they're more engaging for kids too. I think on any age group, and obviously visually that would be much more helpful. But no, we don't have anything that is a larger. But really, that's a great suggestion. I really appreciate that.
Next round.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Rich, thank you. And everyone who is on the call, thank you. Thanks for your participation. And we look forward to the next show and share.